Today we have a lovely speaker giving us her take on the topic of purpose. Suzan Nguyen is a life coach helping people overcome adversity. She's a public speaker, published author of One Arm But Not Unarmed, and has reached a view count of over 300,000 views on her Facebook collaborations with Gallery Furniture. Ladies and gentlemen, get your hand clap emojis ready and help me welcome Suzan Nguyen.
Two of the most significant days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find your purpose in life. Today, I want to share my story on how I found mine. My name is Suzan Nguyen. My story begins in Port Arthur, a small refinery town located on the Texas Gulf Coast. My parents fled Vietnam in 1975 in hopes of a better life, arriving first in Minnesota, which was decidedly too cold. Some friends persuaded my parents to come to Port Arthur, which they found hospitable. In 2001, my life was completely turned upside down. What began as a spontaneous night out with friends ended up to be a nightmare that I could not wake up from. It was dark and drizzling, and I was at the wheel. A car hydroplaned on the wet street near us, which caused me to react and lose control of the wheel. After the car flipped several times, my body was ejected from the windshield, and when I landed, a piece of the car severed my arm completely in an instant. The last thing I remembered was laying on the wet ground and a bright light above me. I realized there was something terribly wrong by the sounds of people screaming and sobbing around me. That was supposed to be my most painful moments in life, but ironically, I could not feel a thing. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, I couldn't scream. I was completely numb. I was living in a magical time. At the age of 22, I was starting to appreciate my looks, starting to understand myself, my uniqueness, my strengths, the woman I was becoming. All of those positive thoughts quickly diminished during the tragic accident. Who would have thought in a million years that would be the age I would have my dominant arm amputated? I was in so much pain physically. My wound was a nasty one. Even my mother, who was coming from the medical field and no stranger to the unfortunate damage that can happen to the human body, was completely shocked at what she saw. Nevertheless, she was by my side, facing the ugliness and continuing to tend not only to my arm, but the skin graft site on my thigh. It was only recently that she confessed it was one of the hardest things she ever had to do, knowing how much pain the process caused me. My typically strong, capable father was completely at a loss, not really believing that his daughter could overcome such a devastating blow and not knowing how to help either his daughter or the rest of his suffering family. On my part, I was emotionally paralyzed by the losses in my life. My looks ruined, my education interrupted, looks from strangers that I still deal with even today. Today, when I see those eyes following me, I smile and say, Hey, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? Teaching them with kindness, right? Unable to imagine my future, I kept having thoughts of taking my own life. I never knew this pain, this type of pain existed. Would my pain ever go away? I experienced sadness, depression, shame, and fear, and those emotions ate at me day in and day out, and it was extremely exhausting. I went through the darkest time of my entire life. There was nothing anyone could say or do to help me. I felt alone. I felt like I was in this all by myself. How was I going to find any peace in a world full of pain? I was truly at the lowest point of my life. I was incredibly miserable, and I had completely lost hope. The very valuable lesson I learned in the middle of my unhappiness was how important it was to recognize and confront my pain in order to move forward. This was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do in my life, but I knew I needed to face my demons head on. Being truthful with myself, letting myself feel the bitterness, the resentment, the anger, the heartache, and the helplessness was an uphill battle I wasn't sure if I was ready to take on. Regardless of the support I had from my family and friends, I felt alone in my pain. I tended to push everyone away because I felt like no one could understand what I was going through. This was something I needed to figure out on my own. I was living in a place where tears constantly flowed, and the image of me with both arms was only a figment of my imagination. I was at a place where only pain and suffering existed. The self-medicating I turned to led me down a darker path and only made my pain worse. Recognizing and confronting my pain led me to embrace my pain, something I didn't even believe be possible. I stopped trying to avoid the pain, letting it wash over me, allowing me to fully feel the awful thing that happened to me. I was finally able to open up and share the depth of my pain and despair with those in my life. Avoiding my pain was no longer something I wanted to do. This, surprisingly enough, led to growth. Amazingly, over time, the pain I experience has become my purpose. Many people believe that purpose arises from special gifts and sets you apart from others, but that is only a small part of the truth. I learned purpose comes from a true connection to others. The Dalai Lama believes that our true purpose in life is to help each other, and I couldn't agree more with him. I saw as I slowly started connecting with others experiencing pain and trauma that I had a new purpose in life. My purpose became to help others heal, to be better rather than bitter. By sharing love, kindness, and compassion with those around us, we connect with the truth of who we are and the importance of our lives. I asked a few of my friends to define what purpose in their lives means to them. And I would love to share some of the answers with you today. A few said it is to serve others, to be a warrior of light. Some said their purpose in life were their children. Finding your purpose in life is not just an intellectual pursuit. It's an emotional process, but rather something we need to feel inside our heart. I watched my purpose grow out of suffering, both my own and that of others. One thing I can agree with is that without purpose, life can feel dull, gray, meaningless. Living with purpose, on the other hand, brings fulfillment, brings meaning, pure joy. If we aren't sure what our purpose may be yet, we must commit to exploring and finding it, whatever it may look like. Your purpose in life is to find and do the things that make you smile, that bring you true contentment and happiness. What brings you fulfillment? What gets you excited to get out of bed? I realize that your pursuit of purpose doesn't come with a time frame. Neither can you expect to find your purpose tomorrow, next month, or next year. But please, take a step back, block out the noise, block out all the noise around you, and search for some clarity. What better time than the present to do just that, as today's world is placed on hold during this crisis? What better time to kickstart your purpose journey? Imagine the power that finding your purpose would unleash in your life. Further imagine a new you who is more focused, more self-confident, and even more connected with others. How incredible would that be? I have learned how to transform my pain into my purpose, and so can you. I've heard it said that difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations, and I could not agree more. So now, my questions for you are these. What difficult roads have you found yourself on? Even more importantly, what beautiful destination do you see in your future? Thank you.